What's up, guys? Levi here. Welcome back to the channel. We are doing another breakdown right here in the podcast room. This went really well the last couple times we did it, where we reach out to you guys on Instagram, here on YouTube, and we tell you what we're going to do, and you guys ask a bunch of questions, and then I can dive a little deeper here. I pick a few questions. I've got a few screenshot here from YouTube. This one, I'm going to do this breakdown specifically from YouTube, and then we're going to do another one that the questions come from Instagram. I've picked a few of my favorite questions. Honestly, you guys asked phenomenal questions. I could literally answer every one of them. There were no dumb questions, and I appreciate that from you guys. Well thought out questions. But I picked my favorite ones, and I'm going to go through here and answer them. Let's start. Let's get this started. The first one is from It's Me Magic 8397 on YouTube. And it says, I've been wanting to know for the longest time, and I'm so happy you posted this. Joel Turner actually mentioned you in this question the other day on the CAM podcast. What are you saying in your head during your shot process? What are you focusing on and saying in your mind in the moment before a shot? I'm competing in ASAs this year, and I want to jump into the pro class next year. For me, it's all about learning the mental game. I love your content. There's actually a couple questions very similar to this. A lot of questions on like my mental game, all that stuff, things I'm saying while I'm in high pressure situations. And I guess I would be considered one of the guys that's really been able to hold it together in those situations. And a lot of times, I wouldn't say that necessarily because I know how nervous I actually get inside. But yeah, I guess the results, the arrows landed where I needed it to in big moments, a lot of times. And really, in my younger days and early on in my career, I was just a fierce competitor, hated to lose and was trying to figure out how to win. So, really there was no rhyme or reason to my mental game when I was younger, say in my 20s, when I was really felt unbeatable. But my focus was always on winning. My focus was always on what I wanted to happen. I visualized it happen. I put myself in scenarios constantly. And I just dreamed of that moment, and I wanted that moment. And sometimes, you shoot and you practice and you prepare for that. And then that moment gets there and it can weed out, a lot of people. That moment can crush you if you're not ready for it. That moment can end your career when you get in there and all of a sudden you feel that and you don't like it. You feel that I want to throw up. There's no way I can hold it together. Your knees start shaking and you just feel scared. I never felt that in the 3D side of archery. I felt that my first time going to Vegas, so I know what that feels like, and it sucks. The two different games for me was indoor and 3D. 3D is something I did since I was little and just felt confident, felt like a killer in 3D because it's all about strategy, thinking. I feel like I could outsmart my competition, out-strategize my competition. But in Vegas, indoors, you just shoot. You can't miss. It's a simple game. And I know everybody's good at it, and that makes me nervous. It makes me nervous when I can't outsmart anybody. I can't make a better plan than anybody. I just can't miss, And my first year I went to Vegas, I was 19, never shot an organized indoor shoot in my life. Shot a 900, made the shoot off, and literally wanted to run when I felt that pressure. Because, you can embarrass yourself. And I've embarrassed myself a lot over the years, but I've also stood there toe to toe and won really big tournaments and big moments. And so I would say what I learned from that, I learned a lot from the indoors, and I got really good at that 2013, 14, 15 time frame. Was shooting it a lot, really feeling that pressure a lot. Won bronze medal in World Cup, was second in Vegas, won indoor nationals, won Reading, won a lot of spot stuff in that time frame when I was doing it. And it really taught me a ton about my mental game and how to focus on what I want to happen. It's kind of like that analogy of the skier going down the hill skiing, and he's saying, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. And what happens is he hits the tree. So if you're thinking about what you don't want to happen the entire time you're in your shot process, that's exactly what's going to happen. So like if you're thinking, don't dip bang, don't dip bang, don't dip boom, you're going to drop your arm and fire the shot. Or don't fire low, don't fire soon, don't freeze up on your release. If those are the thoughts that's going through your head, which is most people, they're thinking about what they don't want to happen. Don't choke, don't embarrass yourself. Then that thing is happening to you and it's going to happen. So what I am, and I accidentally found this early on in the 3D game, is I am constantly focused on what I want to happen. Like obsessively focused on what side of the ring do I want to break on? Which way is the wind coming? What's the best play and strategy to give myself a chance to win right here? And first and foremost, that's my focus. But then if you leave your mind blank during your shot, bad thoughts creep in. So I'm constantly, really, there's not a whole lot going on in there as far as like these, like I know Joel's talked about, and he talked to me about that a little bit, and I tried it. Doesn't work real well for me in 3D. I can see how it would work for spots a little better, where it's like he treats it, maybe Bodie treats it like a house. I'm not sure if he still does this, but he talked to me about it, where you walk up on the porch as you draw back, you knock on the door. The first room is the aiming room, and like you pretend like the house is on fire, because in your mind, that's kind of what you're feeling in those high pressure moments. Like you have to, like everything's on fire and you got to hurry through the house. But you have to have the determination to slowly walk through that house. And that is a good analogy, but I can't be thinking about that while I'm shooting, or I'll just get lost and we'll be 30 seconds in and I haven't shot. So for me, it's just about the initiation. And Joel talks about that a lot too, where I have the plan, where I want to aim, what I want to do, my play on this shot, and I pull back. And once my pin settles, it's just a go thought in my mind. So once that settles and gets where I want it, it's a go, and then everything starts initiating. I pull the right pressure into my backstop and, execute the shot. And really from there, I keep it very simple. I don't let any bad thoughts creep in. I don't let any don't do that thoughts creep in. And I know that's easier said than done, but really the experience is key. Keep putting yourself in high pressure situations. Make yourself uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to embarrass yourself, and shoot to win. You have to love it, and you have to hate to lose so much that you lose sleep over it. And then you're going to figure it out. That's the main thing, is a lot of people quit before they figure it out because that pressure's so miserable. So long answer. Hopefully that helped you out. Next up is from Geoffrey Floyd 5901. What was the roadmap to you shooting competitively? I currently shoot fun 3D shoots and stuff like TAC, but have been toying with the idea of trying to compete. Your channel and content is legit. You're an archery icon. Thanks. My roadmap was, it's all I've ever known, really. There wasn't really a map of it. My dad was a bow hunter. Started shooting local stuff with him, started winning. Then went on to the national and world level as an amateur, won through as an amateur. But then honestly, I quit in high school, was playing sports, chasing girls, the whole thing. But when I graduated, I knew that's what I wanted to go back and do, what I loved. And so then I just turned pro because I wanted to know. I want to know how bad I suck. I want to know what I got to do to beat the best. And so took me a year of really failing and taking notes and working my butt off every spare second. And then my second year as a pro, I really broke through. So there was not a real roadmap as far as like I had to go through all these different things. I mean, it's for anybody, you just show up, and if you win, you move on to something harder. And that's what I did. Starting at a young age, I would win and feel like I would dominate a certain age group, and then I would move up. I was shooting in the men's class at age 13. I just really kept challenging myself. You don't ever want to get satisfied. And I'm afraid, TAC events are fun, but it's not telling people how bad they suck. And archery tournaments tell you how bad you suck, because you keep score. And if you want to be a great shot, then you better keep score. Most people don't like the way that feels, so they want to go shoot for fun. They don't have a scorecard. they go lose arrows and never get any better. But I'll tell you what, tournament archery, even in the amateur ranks, it'll embarrass you and show you what you got to work on. And you either are forced to get better or you're consistently embarrassed because of how bad you suck. And that's why I love competitive archery, because it forces people to become better. It brings out the best in people that are competitors, and there's nothing wrong with fun shoots. Tacks are fun. Just shooting club shoots are fun. But to be honest, they're not driving and demanding excellence. They're just fun. So if you want to get better, I would say sign up for some big shoots, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, and go shoot with the best in that class. Go shoot with the best people from around the country, around the world, see where you stack up, and then go from there. If you really want it, you'll get it. So that's kind of how it happened for me. Okay. Question number 3, Justin Rothel, 7424. Target archery question. Tournament is in 2 days. Bow is shooting lights out, but your D-loop is in need of replacement prior to the weekend, so you replace the D-loop. And then you find that your center serving is separating underneath the D-loop. Would you cut your knock set off? Would you cut your center serving off and start over with 2 days to go, or put a new D-loop and fix center serving issue after a shoot? This is a good question because this has happened a lot, and it happens to me several times. Honestly, if you cinch that D-loop in there, like I cinch it in there, it's going to separate your serving no matter what. It doesn't mean that your center serving is crawling up and down the string. That's what I would be concerned with. If I cut my D-loop off and it's not through the center serving, I'm going to be like, I didn't cinch that down good enough. I mean, my D-loop gets tightened in there, but my center serving isn't crawling or moving. Once I tighten that D-loop in there, it's there. So I just tighten. If I was in this situation, I would make sure that my center serving wasn't crawling up and down my string, and I would just put a new D-loop on and go, because when you cut that center serving off and put a new one on, it can turn into a little bit of a nightmare getting that knock back exactly where it was, and that aim and that feel. Anytime you change something like that, it can be drastic. So my advice would be put a new D-loop on, and if your center serving isn't moving up and down the string, you're good to go. And that's it. So that's my answer on that. Derek_Lejeune. My question is on cam timing and D-loop placement for steadying your hold. I watch videos where archers mess with cam timing for steadier hold, other videos about D-loop height. Wouldn't top cam hitting first cause the D-loop to move higher once the bottom cam hits? I know having cams out of sync could make your back wall jumpier. Just wanted to know, is it best to play with cam timing or D-loop height for steadier hold? I play with both. And it's not a drastic thing. I really like my timing to be close. For me personally, I would rather play with my knock height or where my D-loop placement is, before I would play with timing. Obviously most people struggle with their pins going low that can't get the pin up in the target. Sometimes it's target panic. Most of the time it's target panic, but sometimes it is, how your bow's set up, how you're holding weight, how you're applying pressure. And that all comes from which cam is hitting first. I only know of maybe 1 or 2 people that want their bottom cam hitting first for some reason. It's just how aggressively they pull into that bow. But for most people, you want either your cams hitting exactly the same time or that top cam hitting, like for me, it's like a 32nd of an inch before my bottom cam, just barely hitting before. And then the sweet spot for me is about 1/8 of an inch above center for where my knock clicks on the string. It really helps me to have that feel like my pin never dips below the dot, hardly ever. It just sits there and hovers over the dot. If I go dead center and then perfect cam timing, sometimes I'll get that low jump in my sight picture. So I would say it's okay to play with both, but timing can affect your consistency up and down on your impact. So I wouldn't get too crazy with putting top cam way ahead of the bottom cam or anything like that. If you wanted to bump it just barely off, I would say that's fine. And then play with running that knock up and down the string until you feel like you find a sweet spot where that bow holds the best. And that would be an ideal scenario for me. But it definitely makes a difference in how a bow aims. Okay, this one's more about hunting right here. It's from Renee Hernandez 5231. Why do northern deer hunters hate Texas hunters, such as high fence, corn feeders? I have a lease in South Texas, and anytime I post on anything, on any hunting forum, there will always be someone hating. Well, this is a good question too, because I get a lot of hate whenever I hunt over corn, and I hunt over corn where it's legal, from Ohio, Kansas, you name it. And I think a lot of it is ignorance from people. For one, who cares how other people hunt? Have a good time. Why are you going to hate on that? Like you're some authority on hunting and purist or whatever you want to call yourself. Even hunting great private places. For some reason, people that don't have access to great private places will hate on you because you get to hunt a great place. And they're like, well, I bet you couldn't kill a deer on this Pisgah National Forest in western North Carolina. It's like, yeah, that's how I grew up hunting. Why are you so mad? And that'd be my question. Like, I don't hunt in high fences. I also don't look down on people that do, if you go to South Africa, which I might one day, I'm probably going to have to hunt in a high fence. Texas, it's probably as close to a high fence as I hunt at Cactus Jack. We hunt over feed, and it's brush country, and we shoot giants down there. It's different, and I've been on sheep hunts, a lot of sheep hunts in the middle of nowhere that none of these people that are haters could probably survive doing. It's like I've done it really hard. I've done it really easy, and I love all of it. I love hunting over corn. I love hunting big woods with a saddle where it's illegal to hunt corn, where you're hunting literally sign in the woods, no food plots. You just have to be a woodsman. So I love every aspect of hunting. There's always going to be haters, and what I would tell you is just do what you love to do. If it's hunting over corn in a high fence, then do it. The one thing I do dislike about high fence hunting are the people that hunt in high fences and then try to play it off like they're hunting not in a high fence. If I ever did that, I would just be straight up and be like, this is a high fence. And this is what I like to do, because, at the end of the day, we're all just hunters. We're all on the same team. We need to stop hating on each other, and go do what you love to do. I don't have time to sit on other people's pages and hate on them. I don't know where these people have this much time. But again, just do what you love to do. Hunt, hunt the way you love to hunt. I don't care how it is. I don't care if it's squirrels with a BB gun, whatever. Just do it because you love it, and, don't do it for other people's approval. Let me see here. This is Connect to Jesus with Kevin on YouTube. I should have known that, with this question. How did you find a relationship with Jesus, and what's your testimony? I grew up in church. This could be an extremely long, drawn out answer, because it should be, honestly. But I'm going to try to keep it short. Grew up in church, great parents, very strong in their faith my whole life pretty much. But I think my problem was younger. I was a good kid, but I was always told that I was a good kid. And I think you got to be careful telling kids how good they are, because I believed that. I was like, I never saw myself as bad and as wretched as I really was, until later in life, until honestly pretty recently. I just thought I'm not that bad. I'm pretty good, pretty good, but I wasn't. Nobody's pretty good. And the Bible's very clear on that. And, I think until you see yourself as in dire need of a savior, you can never really have that right relationship with Jesus. And that was me. I always believed in God, believed in Jesus, and had a love for God, but I didn't love him the right way, because in order to understand how good God is and how holy God is, you have to understand how unholy and how not good you are as a human, as a person, and at the core, Doesn't matter how much money you give to people, doesn't matter anything. Like, compared to God, we are bottom of the barrel, scum of the earth, sinners that without the blood of Jesus have no hope. And until I saw myself there, I never had a real, true relationship with Jesus in the right way, where I understood what he did for me, where I understood how he made it possible for me to have a relationship with God. And without him, God couldn't even look on me because I was so bad. So, long story short, that's it. I was a very selfish person, I feel like, through my whole life, pretty much, and didn't even mean to be, didn't realize I was being a lot of the times. But yeah, I had a major change and a major moment, and, just where I really understood, that I was terrible, a terrible person. And without God, I was, without Jesus and without changing that, I was going to end up spending eternity in hell. And so, God changed my life, changed my heart, changed my look on things. And I am so thankful for that. So that's kind of that's a long story, super short, but that is how I view it. And have a lot of biblical, Bible verses and scripture to back that up, and even through the Beatitudes and how that is a depiction of how God forms us and prepares us and breaks us, where it talks about, blessed are those that mourn, blessed are the humble in spirit, blessed are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness. It's a literal in order description of salvation and what has to happen in order for our souls to be, able in a place to be saved. So, I would love to do a deeper talk on that and a study on that, but it would take hours. So thank you for asking that question. I need water. My throat is dry. Okay. Chad Sheridan 7400. What distance do you set your peep height at? 20 seems to be standard, and understandably so, but shooting at extended ranges, I tend to hunt for my anchor point more after I've dialed it down so far. Yeah, 20 is not the place to set your peep height if you're shooting any kind of distance. I would say you want to set your peep height in the mid ranges. So like if you're shooting out to 60 yards, set your peep height 30 to 40. If most of your shots are 40 to 60, set your peep height at 50. So right there in the middle, you want to set your peep height in the middle range of yardages that you're going to be shooting. Obviously, if 90% of your shots are between 20 and 60, and there's a chance you might shoot at 100, don't set your peep height at 70. You know what I'm saying? Set your peep height for where the majority of your shots are going to be. I set mine at about 40 yards, 30 to 40 yards. And then at 100, you're always going to be a little uncomfortable, but you don't want to set it extreme either way. If you set it at 20, when you get to 60 to 70, it's extremely uncomfortable. And if you set it at 70, at 20 and 30, it'd be extremely uncomfortable. So find a middle ground, set your peep height there. Just use common sense, really. All right, I think this is the last one. From Wyatt 9075. What helps keep you focused during a long shooting session? Honestly, I don't have long shooting sessions anymore, really. At the beginning of the year when I'm just trying to get back into shooting shape, I'll do long shooting sessions just where I'm trying to get my muscle memory back, trying to build those muscles up. I go down to Sportsman's Refuge after I drop my kids off at school, and I'll shoot for 2 or 3 hours. Really not accomplishing much as far as good shooting because I'm not aiming well at that point in the year, so I'm just trying to get reps in. So I don't really have to stay that focused at that point. Now, this time of year, my practice is way more precision-based and focused, but it's in shorter spurts because I don't want to be burned out before I get to an event. And that's always been my deal. Like once I have a great setup and I'm shooting well, I don't spend hours a day just beating a dead horse. I go out and I really precision base my practice sessions. They're not long, they're under an hour, but I really want to accomplish something. Whether that's let's work on getting our percentage of hits up between 30 and 35 yards. We're going to work on short targets today. And then maybe next day we're going to work on long targets. We're going to work on shooting in the wind. We're going to work on our timing. I go out and I really try to make the most out of a short amount of time when I'm practicing. I don't want to spend 3 hours a day out there. I can't really anymore. I got 4 kids. I got a bunch of responsibilities. I would say like 8 different jobs I feel like I do. So, I have to really focus my practice sessions into smaller, shorter spurts, 2 or 3 days a week. But it keeps me dialed, keeps me hungry. And when I show up at a tournament, I am looking forward to shooting the range. I'm looking forward to the challenge, looking forward to shooting my bow. So just make sure if you're struggling to stay focused in your practice sessions, you need to shorten them up. Don't go shoot just to say you're shooting. Don't shoot numb. That creates a terrible atmosphere to practice in. No urgency. And so you need to really create fun, challenging practices that are shorter. Try to accomplish a goal. Try to get better. Don't just shoot to shoot. So that's my answer on that. And I think that's all the questions I had picked out. Again, thank you guys so much for... I don't even know how many questions on there, and all of them were really, really good. Again, I can only pick a few, but hopefully I answered those in depth enough. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if I answered them right, what you thought about my answers. I love engaging with you guys. I love hearing from you guys. Please let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you on the next breakdown.